All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to break down the PLAZM protocol's performance on day 181. This was a day of just absolute market fear. The fear and greed index cratered to a 9. And we're going to explore how its unique mechanics aren't just surviving, they're actually built to thrive in exactly these kinds of conditions. Let's get to it. So let's kick things off with a question that kind of flips conventional crypto wisdom on its head. On day 181, with all this intense market pressure, PLAZM's price fell to just over 1.5 cents. For most projects out there, that would be the beginning of the end. See, in the normal crypto world, a price collapse like that kicks off what we all know as a death spiral, right? The price falls, confidence evaporates, nobody's buying, and the price just keeps falling. But PLAZM? Well, it was engineered on a totally different premise. A falling price doesn't hit the brakes, it literally engages a supercharger. Let's start with that first mechanic, the buy and burn engine. I want you to think of this as the protocol's main defense mechanism, and its power, well, it actually grows the lower the price goes. Okay, so every single day, the protocol takes a slice of the yield it earns, right now that's about $284, and it has one job. It goes out onto the open market, buys PLAZM tokens, and then just destroys them permanently. And the fact that this amount is fixed in dollars is absolutely crucial. And this is where you can really see the impact. If the price was, say, 5 cents, that $284 would burn about 5,600 tokens. But at today's price of just over 1.5 cents, that exact same $284 removes over 16,500 tokens. That is nearly 3 times more supply getting torched for every single dollar spent. This is exactly what we mean by the amplification effect at the near-zero frontier. The engine doesn't get weaker as the price drops, it gets way more effective. The protocol is literally designed to clean up its own supply more aggressively when everyone else is scared. But burning tokens is only half the story. The second key mechanic, the APR for people who hold bonds, it actually moves in the exact opposite direction of the token's market price. Just look at today's numbers. While the price of PLAZM dropped almost 14%, the APR for bondholders actually ticked up from 37.9% to 38.15%. So think about that. On a big red day for price, it was actually a green day for yield. So how in the world does that happen? Well, it's because the vault's assets, they generate yield in dollars. And when that dollar-based yield is used to pay out rewards in PLAZM, it can simply buy more tokens when the price is lower. This is a huge benefit for long-term stakers, because it lets them stack up more of the asset while the price is down. Now let's talk about the heart of the protocol, the vault. It's currently holding over $417,000 in bonds that generate yield. And this whole thing is built for autonomous growth, completely separate from what the market is doing. Here's how this loop works. A chunk of that daily yield is automatically reinvested to buy more of these income-producing assets. Right now, that's adding about 2.5 new bonds, or about $87 in new backing, to the treasury every single day. And this process is totally self-sufficient. It doesn't need any new buyers. It's a self-expanding, self-compounding engine. Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. We're going to see how this amped-up burn, the inverted yield, and the self-growing vault all combine to create something we call the supply compression thesis. First up, let's look at the supply itself. Out of about 10.6 million tokens, 18% are already gone forever, burned. Another 34% are locked up in staking or liquidity pools. So what does that mean? It means over half the supply is basically off the market, leaving a pretty small float of about 6.3 million tokens that can actually be traded. Now let's factor in that supercharged burn rate we talked about. At today's price, the protocol is yanking over 16,500 tokens out of that liquid float every day. At this pace, another 1 million tokens will be permanently gone in about 2 months. That available supply is shrinking at a predictable and right now an accelerating rate. And here's the kicker. This supply reduction isn't facing any major headwinds. If you look out over the next 80 days, there are no big, scheduled token unlocks that could just flood the market with new supply. Without the supply shocks, the daily burn just gets to keep doing its thing, squeezing that liquid float smaller and smaller. This all leads to a pretty wild market implication. Right now, at this low price, you could acquire 1 full % of the entire protocol for less than $2,000. This creates a really unique window of opportunity for someone to build a major position, and that's a window that really only opens up when prices get compressed like this.
So let's bring it all home. We've basically laid out 4 structural reasons why this low-price environment isn't a death spiral, but is actually the protocol's core design kicking into high gear.
Think about it. The burn gets stronger. The yield for long-term holders gets richer. The treasury grows all by itself. And there are no supply bombs waiting on the horizon. Every one of these points shows a system that was specifically built not just to survive market fear, but to actually use that fear to make its own fundamentals even stronger.
Now, I gotta be super clear here. None of this is a guarantee that the price will recover. Markets are unpredictable, they always will be. But what the data shows us is a set of mechanics that are working exactly as they were designed to, creating a really compelling, data-backed case for anyone looking at the long-term health of this thing.
And that leaves us with one final big thought. We've just looked at a machine that is literally built to get more efficient during times of extreme fear. So the question you got to ask yourself is, how might these powerful compounding mechanics perform if or when the market sentiment finally shifts back towards confidence?